Hello and a very warm welcome to each one of you. And I am super excited to share that today we are diving into chapter number 18. Hmm. Over the past few chapters, we have explored the deep building blocks of personal transformation, wherein we talked about values, what truly matters to us and drives every decision we make. उसके बाद हमने पढ़ा था about rules, that the hidden conditions that we attach to feeling happy, successful or any other feeling. Then उसके बाद हमने पढ़ा था references के बारे में, the experiences and the evidences that shape our beliefs. And last हमने पढ़ा beliefs के बारे में, the interpretations of those references that become our truth. Together, these layers create the foundation of who we think we are, that is our identity. But जो हम चैप्टर पढ़ने वाले हैं, the next phase of transformation begins when we ask ourselves, who do I choose to be now? हमारी जो identity है, I have repeated it multiple times, that our current reality, our current identity has taken us where we are right now. But if you want to expand, if you want to reach the higher levels, higher version of ourselves, we need to have a different identity. जब आप ये पूछते हो, who do I choose to be now? It is a very important question, because sustainable changes happen only when it aligns with our sense of identity. जब तक we don't feel that our identity is that, we don't get a sustainable change. हम लोग change हो सकते हैं, हम कुछ भी achieve कर सकते हैं for a limited period of time, but then we will go back to our older self. So we have to start working on our identity. So this is a very powerful chapter that needs to be read in depth. Let me very quickly start sharing the screen so that we can read together. Identity, the key to expansion. Nothing great will ever to be achieved without great men, and men are great only if they are determined to be so. There were no marks on his body. The Chinese communists had held him captive in a tiny room for more than 20 hours, but they hadn't beaten or tortured him. They had even offered him a cigarette or two. And as a result of their polite conversation, this GI now held a document in his own handwriting detailing the countless injustices and destructiveness of the American ways of life, the capitalist society, and praising the superiority and ethical humanity of the communist system. What's more, the essay this officer of the US Army had written was now being broadcast to his and other POW camps in North Korea, as well as to the American force stationed in South Korea. He would later divulge military information, turn in his fellow prisoners, and fervently denounce his own country. What caused this man to completely reverse his worldview and dismantle the beliefs that had been instilled in him over a lifetime? What caused him to abandon the core values he had previously held and become a collaborator with the enemy? What single change would make such a radical shift in thoughts, emotions, and actions of an individual? The answer lies in understanding that he was directed down a path that caused him to literally shift his identity. He was now simply acting in accordance to his new image of himself. Throughout this book, we have explored with me the impact of beliefs, one of the foundational elements of master system that directs all of our evaluations. Beliefs guide us to conclusions, and therefore they teach us how to feel and what to do. However, there are different levels of beliefs that have different levels of impact on the quality of our lives. Some are very specific. For example, the beliefs you have about a particular friend will determine how you think and feel about his behavior and the meaning that you will think of anything that he does. If you know that he is loving, then even if he appears to be angry at the moment, you will not question his ultimate intent. This belief will guide all of your interactions with this person, but this will not necessarily affect the way you deal with the stranger. These beliefs impact you in only one specific area of your life, your interactions with this friend. Some beliefs, however, have an expanded influence on your life. I call these global beliefs. These are the beliefs which have much further reaching consequences. For example, the beliefs you have about people in general will affect not just the way you deal with your friends, but with everyone you meet. These beliefs will powerfully impact your career, your level of trust, your marriage, and so forth. The global beliefs you have about the concepts of scarcity and abundance, for example, will determine your stress levels and your generosity of time, money, energy, and spirit. If you believe we live in a world with scarce resources, where there is only so much money, so much time, so much love, then you will constantly live in fear that you won't have enough. This stress will affect the way you think of your neighbors, your co-workers, your financial capabilities and opportunities in general. More powerful than any of these, though, is the core belief that is the ultimate filter of all our perceptions. The belief directly controls the consistency of your life's decisions. I will repeat that. This belief directly controls the consistency of your life's decision. These are the beliefs you have about your identity. What we can or cannot do, what we consider possible or impossible, is rarely a function of our true capability. It is more likely a function of our belief of who we are. In fact, if you have ever found yourself unable to even consider doing something where your response to someone is, I could never do that, or I am just not that kind of a person, then you have run up against the barriers of a limiting identity. This is not always bad, of course. Not perceiving yourself as a murderer is a very important distinction. Not perceiving yourself as someone who would take advantage of others is probably very useful. It's important to realize that we define ourselves not only by who we are, but by who we are not. What exactly is identity? It is simply the belief that we use to define our own individuality, what makes us unique, good, bad, or indifferent from other individuals. And our sense of certainty about who we are creates the boundaries and limits within which we live. Your capability is constant, but how much of it you use depends upon the identity you have for yourself. I'll repeat that. Your capability is constant, but how much of it you use depends on the identity you have for yourself. For example, if you feel certain that you are an outgoing, outrageous person, you will trap the resources of behavior that match your identity. Whether you see yourself as a wimp or a wild man or a winner or a wallflower will instantly shape which capabilities you assess. You may have read the book Pygmalion in the classroom, which details the dramatic change in students' performance when they become convinced that they are gifted. Time and again, researchers have shown that students' capabilities are powerfully impacted by the identities they develop for themselves as a result of teachers' belief in their level of intelligence. In one study, a group of teachers were told that certain students in their class were truly gifted and to make sure that they challenged them to continue to expand. As can be expected, these children make sure that they are challenged them to continue. These children became the top achievers in their class. What makes the study significant is that these students had not actually demonstrated higher levels of intelligence, or in fact, some had previously been labeled poor students. Yet, it was their sense of certainty that they were superior, which had been instilled by a teacher's false belief that triggered their success. The impact of this principle is not limited to students. The kind of person other person perceives you to be controls their responses to you. Often, this is nothing to do with your true character. For example, if a person sees you as a crook, even if you are honest person and do good things, this person will search for the sinister motive behind your acts. What's worse is that after making a positive change, we often allow others in our environment who have not changed their image of us to anchor our own emotions and beliefs back into our old behaviors and identities. We all need to remember that we have a tremendous power to influence the identities of those we care about most. This is the power of Marva Collins' commands when she influences her students to believe that they are the masters of their destinies, that they are as talented as a human being who has walked on earth. The best effect of a fine person is felt after we have left their presence. We all will act consistently with our views of who we truly are, whether that view is accurate or not. The reason is that one of the strongest forces of human organism is the need of consistency. Throughout our lives, we have been socialized to link massive pain to inconsistency and pleasure to being consistent. Think about it. What labels do you attach to people who say one thing and then do another? Who claim to be one way and they behave another? We call them hypocritical, fickle, unstable, unreliable, wishy-washy, scatterbrained, flaky, untrustworthy. Would you like to have these labels attached to you? Would you even like to think of yourself this way? The answer is obvious, the resounding no. As a result, whenever we take a stand, especially a public stand, and state what we believe, who we are, and what we are about, we experience intense pressure to remain consistent with that stand, regardless of what the inflexibility may cost us in the future. Conversely, there are tremendous rewards for remaining consistent with our stated identities. What do we call people who are consistent? We use words like trustworthy, loyal, steady, solid, intelligent, stable, rational, true blue. How would you like to have people consistently use these labels to describe you? How would it feel to think of yourself in this way? Again, the answer is obvious. most people would love it. Thus, the need to remain consistent becomes irrevocably tied to your identity to avoid pain and gain pleasure. A foolish consistency is a homoglobin of small minds. The Pygmalion effect also works in reverse. If you feel certain that you have learning disabled, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is quite different from believing that your current strategy for learning is ineffective. The ability to change one strategy is perceived by most of us to be a simple and achievable task as long as we have the right teacher. How? However, changing ourselves, changing the essence of who we are, is perceived by most of the next to impossible. The common response, "I'm just this way," is the phrase of murder stream. It carries with the sentence of an unchangeable and permanent problem. A person who believes they have developed a drug addiction can clearly change. It will be difficult, but a change can be made and it can last. Conversely, a person who believes himself to be a drug addict will usually return to the use of drugs even after weeks and months of abstinence. Why? It's because he believes that this is who he is. He doesn't have a drug addiction, but he is a drug addict. Remember from chapter 4 that once a person has a conviction about anything, he will ignore and even defend against any evidences that's contrary to his beliefs. Unconsciously, this person will not believe that he can change long term, and this will control his behavior. In addition, there is often secondary gain involved in the process of maintaining this negative behavior. After all, this man can blame his addiction on something he can't control. It's simply who he is, instead of facing the reality that taking drugs is conscious decision. This will be augmented by the need within the human nervous system for consistency. And he will return to this destructive pattern again and again. Surrendering his identity would be even more painful than the clearly destructive effect of the drugs themselves. Why? Because we all have a need for a sense of certainty. Most people have tremendous fear of unknown. Uncertainty implies the potential of having pain strike us, and we would rather deal with the pain we already know about than deal with the pain that is unknown. Thus, living in an ever-changing world, one is which we are constantly surrounded by the flux of new relationships, redefined job roles, changing environment, and a steady stream of new information, the one that we all count on to be constant is our sense of identity. If we begin to question who we are, then there is no foundation for all of the understandings upon which we have built our lives. If you didn't know who you are, then how could you decide what to do? How can you formulate values, adopt beliefs, or establish rules? How can you judge whether something is good, bad, or indifferent? The biggest challenge for someone who perceives his identity as of a drug addict is, what does he change his identity to? To the recovering drug addict, this doesn't change his identity. It merely describes the state he is currently. He is in currently. Drug free doesn't do it either, because Most see it as a temporary trait. And it still focuses on drugs as one of the ways of defining oneself. When this person develops a conviction that he is absolutely clean, that's that he is now a Christian, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, or now that he is a leader or anything else other than drug addict, that's when his behavior changes. As we develop new beliefs about who we are, our behavior will change to support the new identity. I'll repeat this. As we develop new beliefs about who we are, our behavior will change to support the new identity. The same thing happens when a person who has excess weight, whose identity is, I am a fat person, this individual may diet and lose weight in the short term, but he will always gain it back because his sense of certainty about who he is will guide all his behaviors until they are once again consistent with his identity. We all must maintain the integrity of our convictions of who we are, even when they are destructive and disempowering. The only way to create lasting change for an individual who is been using drugs is to change his conviction from I'm a drug addict to I'm a health nut, or I am living example that no problem is permanent, or now I am dash. Whatever the new identity, it must be one that would never even consider the use of drugs. If drugs are offered again, his immediate response is not to evaluate whether he should use them or not, but to simply state an absolute certainty. I'm not that kind of a person. That's who I used to be. Those with excess weight must transform their identity from a fat person to a vital, healthy, and athletic human being. This identity change will shift all their behaviors from their diet to their exercises and allow them to create the long-term physiological changes that are consistent with their new identity. This shift may sound like it's merely a semantic manipulation, but in truth, it is much deeper and more profound transformation of personal reality. In fact, one shift in identity can cause a shift of your entire master system. Think about it. Doesn't a drug addict have a completely different system of evaluation? The states he consistently experiences, the questions he asks, the value that guides his actions, and the references he organizes into beliefs. That does someone who considers himself as to be a leader, a lover, an athlete, or a contributor. While it's true that not all identity shifts are as completely as others, some are indeed as far reaching that one master system is literally replaced in a moment by another. If you have repeatedly attempted to make a particular change in your life only to continually fall short, invariably the challenge is that you were trying to create a behavioral or emotional shift that was inconsistent with your belief about who you are. Shifting, changing, or expanding identity can produce the most profound and rapid improvements in the quality of your life. All right, that's today's read. And tomorrow we will be diving into how your identity is formed. But before we wrap up today, let's summarize what we have read so far. When we talk about identity, and it is a key to expansion, what we have read around today is first understanding the power of identity. Tony Robbins ने explain किया कि identity is the deepest driving force in a human behavior. You can change your behavior temporarily, But lasting transformation happens only when your identity is shifted, when you change your self concept. Identity ke questions, your identity answer questions, sorry, your identity answers questions like who you are, what kind of a person I am, what I can do, what I can't do, है ना? इन सब चीजों से रिलेटेड आप जब आंसर करते हो तो आपको पता चलता है कि आप कौन हो। जब आपकी आइडेंटिटी अगर है कि आई एम शाय, या फिर आई एम नॉट गुड विद मनी, या फिर आई एम ऑलवेज लेट, योर सबकॉन्शियस मेक्स श्योर योर एक्शंस आइडेंटिफाई विद इट, इवन इफ इट इज पेनफुल। जो आपके पास आपने आइडेंटिटी सोच के रखी है आपकी है, दैट इज हाउ यू योर बिहेवियर चेंजेस। इट इज लाइक a self-fulfilling prophecy. And this was the concept. I did not know the word, but I still remember that I was very much influenced by it when my dad used to, tell कि अगर मार्क्स एक दो मार्क्स कम होते थे तो मॉम यूज टू बी लाइक आफ्टर आवर लाइव्स, एंड डैड यूज टू बी लाइक, ओ वाओ यू हैव डन सो वेल, एंड I know you can do even better. So that always motivated. We are three brothers and sisters, me and my two brothers, and that used to motivate us so immensely कि हमारे को लगता था हाँ यार पापा ने बोला है ना तो मतलब कि हाँ हम कर लेंगे। Even till date, when my dad says yes, you're doing good and keep going, don't stop ever, just keep doing what you are doing, because this is going to bloom as a very beautiful thing. And because he keeps on saying this, it feels that yes, I can do it, and it gives me another level of confidence. When you shift, तो अगर आपको लगता है कि यू आर नॉट गुड विद मनी, या फिर आप यू आर शाय, या फिर यू आर always late, some kind of these kind of things, it is good that you start shifting your identity and start saying that I am learning to express myself, या फिर I am learning how to manage money consciously, या फिर I am a person of integrity. जब जब आप ऐसी चीजें अपने आप को बोलना शुरू करते हो, everything changes naturally and effortlessly. I still remember, इसमें एक और example दिया गया है कि it is said that when you announce it publicly, you tend to live by that identity as well. Your behavior changes. So I still remember that I was not at all doing any kind of workout. So I decided that I'm going to put it on the Instagram that I'm going to start walking. When I started walking, I used to every week increase the number of steps. And since I was posting it on Instagram every day, it became a moral responsibility for me that yes, I have to prove that yes, what I'm talking is true. What I am saying about myself, that I am massively consistent person, is who I am. And how do I do it? By showing people that yes, if I had committed that I'm going to walk, then I have walked. It is said कि never say anything negative after the word, after in the sentence I am. क्यों? क्योंकि it becomes the your reality. जब जब आप बोलते हो I am a procrastinator, I am unhealthy, I am this, I am that, what are you doing? Subconsciously, you are training your mind and you are telling your mind to bring forth all the evidences, plus bring a shift in your behavior that matches that identity. अब एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देखते हैं। अगर एक होम मेकर है, एक होम मेकर टेल सेज कि आई एम जस्ट अ होम मेकर, तो हाउ डज दैट फील? It feels stuck. It feels a little small, and I know it because I have been a homemaker. And सामने से अगर कोई बोल देता था okay you are a homemaker, so I used to be like हाँ yes I'm just a homemaker, and it used to feel so hurtful. But the day when I started moving on this, self-development journey, I shifted it by I started saying that I am a nurturer, and and also I used to add to it that I am a creator of the beautiful energy at my home. And all of a sudden, I started feeling so powerful about being a homemaker. Is there anything wrong with being a homemaker? Not at all. It is the most pious work that you can do. But it is about the identity. अगर आपको लगता है कि you are just a homemaker, it is pain. If you believe that you are a nurturer, if you believe that you are the reason who brings the positive energy, who brings freshness in your house, then it's एक मदर जो बिलीव करती है कि आई लूज माई पेशेंस वेरी क्विकली, उसका आपको क्या लगता है कि क्या बिहेवियर होगा? जो खुद ही बोल रहा है कि आई लूज माई पेशेंस वेरी क्विकली, शी विल कंटिन्यू टू येल। उसको पता है, वो अपने आप को खुद ही बोल रही है कि आई लूज माई टेम्पर वेरी क्विकली, आई लूज माई पेशेंस क्विकली, इजीली। तो हर बिहेवियर वुड बी कि बच्चे ने कुछ गलती करी, जल्दी से येल कर दिया, जल्दी से डांट फटकार लगा दी, जल्दी से एक थप्पड़ लगा दिया। But if she shifts her identity and she declares कि I am calm and I am grounded, even when there is turbulence, even under pressure, तो जब वो ये बोलना अगर बोलना शुरू हो जाएगी, तो आपको नहीं लगता कि उसकी एक मॉरल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हो जाती है कि मैंने अपने आप को ऐसा बोला है, तो हाउ कैन आई रिएक्ट, हाउ कैन आई नॉट बी दिस पर्सन? आर यू गेटिंग द पॉइंट? तो हर रिस्पॉन्स starts to match the energy. I would love for you to reflect on what are the 3 I am statements that you have been repeating that might be limiting your own growth. And make a column. एक तरफ लिख दो कि I am statements that you are repeating that is not supporting your growth. And on the other side of the paper, I would love for you to change it. I would love for you to write who would I become if I change this statement to something more empowering. First step is change this statement to an empowering statement. And next is what are you going to become if you change these statements into more empowering statements? Okay. This is one activity that I would love for you to do. The the basic uh, thing that you need to understand is that the strongest force of human personality is the need to remain consistent with how you define yourself. So if you want to change your life, you have to start by redefining who you are. एक और बात करिए टोनी रॉबिन्स में ने इस सेक्शन में, दैट इज द की टू एक्सपैंड। ठीक है, इसमें टोनी रॉबिन्स हैज reminded us that growth begins when our identity expands beyond our comfort zone. जब आप अपने आप को डिफाइन करोगे लिमिटेड उसके अंदर, वेरी नैरोली, you will shrink your possibilities. But जब आप अपने आप को, when you open your identity to new dimensions, when you call yourself like something like I'm a lifelong learner, या फिर I am a mother as well as a leader, है ना, you unlock expansion. The main thing that you must remember is your life expands in the proportion to the label you break free from, or the label you give to yourself. आप बोल सकते हो I'm just a mother, and you can also say I'm a mother and a leader. I'm a mother, I'm a nurturer, I'm a coach to my kids. That is also a very beautiful thing. The moment you say you are a coach to your kids, Do you think your behavior is going to change? Massively. आप अपने आप को वो नहीं करोगे ना कि कहते हैं your actions will change. Your parenting style is immediately going to shift. बहुत अच्छा एग्जांपल है इंडस्ट्री में ओपरा विनफ्री. Oprah Winfrey stopped identifying herself as just a TV host, and she began seeing herself as a visionary, as a change maker. With the result, उनकी entire impact जो था on the society multiplied. अगर वो सिर्फ टीवी होस्ट के जैसे अपने आप को आइडेंटिफाई करती है, तो डू यू थिंक दैट इम्पैक्ट वुड बी पॉसिबल? वुड वी नो ओपरा विनफ्री? I don't think so. We don't know many other TV hosts, do we? But when she shifted her, how she started seeing her as a visionary or as a change maker, उनके actions different हो गए. उनका जो impact था on the people, it multiplied. The point is, you need to reflect on which areas of my life is asking for me to expand my identity right now. वो relationships हैं, वो health है, HCRM होता है ना, career है, money है, growth है, purpose है, क्या है? Once you know what it is, I would love for you to make a vision board. कि ये न्यू आइडेंटिटी में ये सब कुछ होने वाला है. जब आप वो विजन बोर्ड बनाओगे और अपने फोन स्क्रीन पे रख दोगे, अपने लैपटॉप स्क्रीन पे रख दोगे, अपने I don't know, wherever, if you make it beautifully, maybe you can place it in your dining room as well, in your kitchen as well, right? जब जब आप उसको देखोगे, आपको याद आएगी. And you keep telling yourself that I'm a woman in becoming, I'm a man and I'm becoming, this is the man that I'm becoming. It is going to shift a lot of things. जितनी बार आप उस चीज को देखते हो, जितनी बार आप अपने आप को रिमाइंड कराते हो कि दिस इज द आइडेंटिटी आई वांट टू एम्ब्रेस, योर बिहेवियर शिफ्ट्स. बिकॉज जो आपकी आइडेंटिटी है, वट एवर हाउ सो एवर यू डिफाइन योर सेल्फ, योर बिहेवियर is the impact of that identity. So the mini you has to die for the new year, new you to emerge. Okay. All right. That's it for today. Take good care of yourself. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless you and lots and lots and lots of love. Mwah. See you tomorrow with understanding how your identity is formed. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.